Now, back in that last clip, we went through a very short explanation of the process to copy an account. And we went here over to the Jason Helmick account and attempted to copy Jason Helmick to some other user. And in a world where you may have another user like the Don Jones person who may be coming in and working in the same group as the Jason Helmick person, well, it makes sense then to just copy the account so that you can very easily replicate all the different configurations that Jason has over to what Don will need. But there comes a time also where when you're creating new accounts, you may have a certain minimum baseline set of configurations that every new account may require. Let's say, for example, that you want to set a user profile path or a home drive so that that home drive always corresponds to whatever the user may require. You may also have a set of baseline security groups that the users may need to be added to as well. Well, there is a process here in the ADUC to create what are called template user accounts, which are honestly less exciting than they might seem. A template user account is essentially a non-functioning user account that you create here in Active Directory users and computers that you can use as the container for all those baseline configurations. Let's go ahead and create that template account here, and I'm going to start it with an underbar, for the only reason that when you go about sorting the Active Directory users and computers interface here, that the underbar will force this template account to the top of the list. And if I come down here to the user logon name, I'll do the same thing and create it as underbar template. Let me choose the next button here, and I'm going to leave the password as blank. Now here's a really cool trick that you can do when you're creating these template accounts. If I create this password as blank, I'm not going to be able to actually create the user. Because in order to create the password as blank, well, I'm not going to meet the password complexity requirements for my Active Directory domain. So you can't actually create a blank password on a user. This is sort of a gut check that's built into AD. But if I do create the password as blank and set the password so it cannot be changed, so the password never expires, and so that the account is disabled, I'm then allowed to go about creating this new user. The neat part about this template user is that in no way can I ever enable the account, because if I enable the account, the blank password is not going to fit within those password complexity requirements. So this creates, as I said, kind of a non-functioning account that I can use as the template. Now here inside this template, if I open it up, this gives me the abilities to add in maybe additional membership here. Maybe I want to add in the fact that we have a company users group to add people into. Maybe I want to configure some dial-in permissions or some environment settings or even some session settings down here for when I'm connecting up to remote desktop. The other things I can do for this user, for example, here under Profile, is to configure maybe a roaming profile for the user or a home folder for the user. Now there's one wildcard that gets commonly used most often here in the Profile tab that you might want to be aware of in case you have need to create a roaming profile or a home folder that is pathed appropriately. And that wildcard is the %username %wildcard. This %username %wildcard will translate directly into the user name, so the actual logon name of whatever user you copy this template account into. So if you know you want to create a roaming profile to file1 share1/username, when you go about copying this account into an actual user, this will then resolve to whatever username you end up configuring for that individual. If I choose OK down here and then go back here to the copy, I can then use this template to go about copying this account, this template, to an actual user, and then they would get all the configurations that I've included in the template.